Hi, I'm Beena Patel, a physician associate turned spiritual mentor, quantum healer, women's coach, and speaker. Welcome to The Voice That Sees. This podcast is an intimate dialogue on topics ranging from science and spirituality to alternative forms of healing, vulnerable storytelling, the esoteric ancient wisdom, the power of individual transformation, and how it impacts the collective evolution of humanity. Each episode, you will learn how to evolve by shifting your mindset and ways of being, express your vulnerability to heal and transform, and channel your emotions into self-expression, creating a greater impact in the world. Let's continue your journey together. Welcome back to The Voice That Sees. Today's episode is all about the void. Something that I feel many people have navigated in 2025, and also something that many of us go through as we are going through life transitions. And so the first thing I want to go into today is discussing the importance of the void and also some pearls of wisdom that I've uncovered from over a decade, maybe 15 years of learning the difference between pushing at something versus allowing something to arrive and then flowing with it. The void can be described, at least the way that I would describe it, is this time or period where it seems as though certain things are unraveling in your life. So this could be something like maybe having the dream job that you thought was the job that was your dream career, whatever it was. And suddenly one day you might have gotten laid off, and that could have been unexpected. You hear this many times where people who have been laid off, especially when they were doing something they loved, it can be a big shock to their systems. So those types of events, and it's not just limited to career, it could also be something as in being betrayed in a relationship, maybe having been cheated on, having a partner that may have left you for someone else, going through a divorce, sometimes even a death of a loved one, something that really created a shock to the system where suddenly you notice that the old life isn't there anymore. It doesn't make sense. And even though you still might be moving through it, it just doesn't feel real, if that makes sense. It doesn't feel as though the world you were living in is standing on a healthy foundation anymore. It seems like the foundation kind of just got ripped apart from underneath your feet, and suddenly you're like, where am I? And it can be challenging because you never know really how long the void is going to be. Looking back, you can see, okay, it wasn't that long, or okay, I can see that things came apart, but things were also coming together. And then there are times where you look back and you think, okay, that was a time of introspection and truly being with yourself, because there were some things that just needed to be remolded inside that you didn't know how to go about that. So the void is a really potent place for creation, for co-creation. And it can be synonymous with the womb for women, this space where it's filled with darkness in a beautiful way, not knowing what can come about, but allowing yourself to be there in the unknown, sitting with the uncertainty and playing with it, dancing with it, finding the joy in your life, as well as a healthy balance, even as some of the more challenging emotions can arise. For instance, a lot of times when people are going through such circumstances, joy is not necessarily the first emotion that they go to. Oftentimes it's grief, it's feeling sorrow, regret, remorse, anger, resentment, all these things. And yet there's still a way to dance with it. We can dance with the grief. We can hold the grief. We can sit there and cry tears of sadness and also tears of joy. And sometimes they can happen all at once. So the void brings up a lot, and you can't really predict how it's going to look. And one of the most beautiful things that the void can teach you is that you hold tremendous power and potential. And often what is coming undone in a void, in that sacred space, are things that aren't aligned anymore, things that need to be cleared for something healthier, more beautiful to come into your reality and your life. And it's usually something that triggers significant change and transformation, which is why most of us, given our conditioning, we try to hold back, we try to resist and say, no, 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 this is too much. And often what life is presenting us is an opportunity to step in and embody our infinite potential, and often the dreams that we've had deep in our hearts and souls, but we're afraid to admit to, afraid to step into for whatever reason. And you're in a void when things have gotten so uncomfortable that it's like, okay, you might as well do the thing that you really want to do. You might as well do what's been on your heart and step into it, not having all the steps mapped out before you, but knowing that your body, your soul is so wise, so intuitive, and so brave enough that this is part of your destiny and it's what you are here to do, to embody, and to be on this planet. A quick story is that in 2021, I went into one of the biggest voids in my entire life prior to 2025, and I will share about that as well. And so, 2021, I felt that I had everything that I wanted at that time. I was teaching yoga, I had a steady flow of clients. I also had a corporate job where I loved my team. I worked with an amazing boss who I'm still friends with to this day. And money was growing. I felt that I had good friendships in my life, even though we were just post lockdown and things were still kind of shifting post pandemic. We were still in it, but things were kind of settling down, kind of, not really, but kind of. So I felt that things were being planted in a really good way, a solid way at that time. And then suddenly things got uncomfortable. The relationship I was in at that time, I realized was not the relationship that I thought it would be. And during moments of going upward and starting to feel transformation start to move, the container just couldn't hold that transformation for both of us. And so we had to move our separate ways. And there are no regrets, but there were a lot of lessons that I learned because I tried to hold on as long as I could. And maybe you can relate to this, where even though it seems like things are just not working, you still try to go at it. You still try to push a little bit more. You try to see if you could do just one more thing. Would that help that situation? Whether it's a relationship, a venture, a marriage, whatever it is, you know the drill. As humans, we've been through this dance so many times. And so having gone through that and then noticing other things kind of come undone, suddenly realizing, okay, the job that I was in at that time, I didn't truly feel satisfied. And I also noticed that certain people, not everyone, but certain people were doing that thing, being the snakes in the corporate world, trying to get information from you to use it against you or try to one up you on team meetings. And I just thought at that point, I wasn't even fighting against it. That's usually how you can tell that you're moving into a significant transformation, is that you're not really trying to force it. Let me reframe that. You could be trying to force certain things, still try to make certain things happen, but at the same time, your soul might be getting weary and tired, and at some point you're starting to surrender, and it's like, okay, you're noticing that even as you try to force, it's not working. So it's time to pull back and surrender to what is and what's unfolding. So one by one, things started to come undone. And while there was a part of me, aka my human, that still wanted to go at it, my soul was like, we are kind of being pushed by God, by the universe, to let go in each of these moments. And something I noticed that year is that I was part of a coaching program, a group program. And what was really helpful was that I did have beautiful sisterhood in that program. That was kind of an unexpected benefit from that particular program. And one by one, a few women were really showing up for me. And I remember that during our calls, they would witness me as I cried. And they didn't really say much. As women who were really in their wise woman years, they recognized that this was something they just need to hold space for. It's nothing I needed advice for at that moment. It was something where I just needed to be held and supported in a beautiful, safe space. And I had it in these very beautiful, motherly women. So I'm really grateful for that. What happened on the other side is that there were things that were already coming to fruition while I was in those waters that were so deep. I would say midway of 2021. And when I came out on the other side, I realized I could no longer walk back to the old life because from inside out, I had changed, I had transformed. And a lot of it was not in my control. It's as though God stepped in and things were transformed. And then I realized I have to go into teaching yoga a lot more at that time. And so I taught at a beautiful hotel in St. Lucia during that time. I also transitioned full time into my business, the yoga movement. And I learned that if I wasn't going fully in on myself and I was still wobbling and doing the dance between corporate and my business, then I wasn't fully going in on the destiny that had been assigned to me, just like there is a mission and destiny assigned to each and every one of you who is listening or watching. And so, fast forward to 2025. And I do want to mention a void is not something that you just feel, okay, things have changed. Let's step into it. Let's step into the void and see what it's about. The void is very uncomfortable, and it's uncomfortable because it's the unknown. And many of us want certainty, but it is an illusion. I used to not want to admit to that. I used to think, well, I can be certain about this, I can be certain about that. What I feel I can be certain about is that change is always happening. I can be certain about that because that's a universal law. And as we can see, things are changing. We're changing every single day. So that's the one thing that I can speak to in this conversation that we can be certain about. However, a lot of things that are happening in our lives, even beautiful things, they're still kind of out of our control. And what we can control or manage on our part is the way we respond to the way things are evolving and how transformation is taking suit, but not so much by controlling our external forces or our external reality, more so understanding, well, what can we shift internally? How can we show up in a different way that's more empowering for us and for the world? And there's a lot of power in realizing that we can also surrender to understanding that transformation. Yes, we can do our part, but there's also something divine moving through us as we are transforming on the level of spirit and soul. And when we can step out of our own way and let the divine work through us, there's actually a lot less that we need to do and a lot more that we can be. And there's power in that statement because it means that we actually don't have to hustle in the process of transformation. We don't have to gun it or try to quantum leap and try to shift things so quickly. We can learn the art of patience, which is such a virtue, and realize that in those moments of being a little bit more patient than we're used to, we're also developing deeper self-trust and also trusting in God, trusting in the universe to show up for ourselves and to know what a gift that is. That while everyone is moving through their own purpose and their destiny and their mission, that God still has eyes on each and every one of us. And each one of us is being given undivided attention. It's just that the timelines can look differently. The process, the journey, the creative process can look different. And it's beautiful because we're all so unique. And yet we're bringing this beautiful shared sense of humanity together as well as diversity. It's such a gift. I want that to land. "2025, let's talk about a year that seriously took everyone by the snake energy and shifted things out of our lives, out of our normal ways of being so that a new way of life could be planted. For anyone who thought, like me, who thought they could be a little bit sneaky and go back to old ways of being and thought that you could paint the picture that you really wanted instead of really feeling into whether it's the picture, the painting that's coming from deep within your heart. 2025 undid a lot of that, if not all of that. And so what I want to share about the void moving forward in this conversation is that the void is so powerful because it's something that you might also be familiar with in the world of quantum physics, quantum manifestation, quantum healing, which is that 0 point. It's as though when someone hits a rock bottom, it's like, okay, well, now that you hit the rock bottom, you can be anything you want to be. And you can go big. You can dream up your biggest desires because you've hit that place where you were so nervous about hitting. And once you hit that place of feeling like a failure, feeling like everything that you once knew was destroyed, came apart, you're just in this field where you're so unraveled and so undone from inside out that it's like you just feel surrendered. You're not really fighting against any external forces. You're not coming up to the surface to fight someone. You're just there and you're surrendered in the moment. And in that moment, it's so powerful because you can be used as a vessel for some of the most powerful creations and co-creation. And where this becomes a little bit, at least what I've learned in my journey, where this can become a little bit tricky is that yes, we are very powerful and we can co-create very powerful things, very beautiful things on this planet. However, sometimes we can create things out of the ego. And so when we hit that point of the 0 point in that field of infinite potential, infinite possibilities, it's so easy to look at someone and be inspired by someone who has the very things that we think we want, a certain type of success, super bougie, super luxurious. They're talking about millions of dollars. They're talking about the dream partner. And everywhere you look on social media, it's these pictures of living a dream lifestyle, looking like that hot couple, and all the things ring a bell inside of you because you're like, I want that. I want that. And maybe you haven't had that. And then you suddenly feel that you want that. And maybe you do. We wouldn't disregard that right away. However, there's a journey that can go a little bit deeper when you also ask yourself if this is truly the desires of your heart or the desires of the ego. Because I've seen it both within myself as well as people that I've been friends with, people that I've worked with, people that I've mentored where they're thinking, oh, I have to have this, I have to have that. And I've seen people who've had multi-million dollar businesses tell me after a couple of glasses of wine, I don't even really like what I'm doing. For instance, they might have had a business that catered to children, but they actually don't like kids. Or they're in this hospitality business, but they don't care for hospitality. And so these kinds of things that I saw, or even people in marriages saying, Bina, I actually really want your life when in times where I've been single. It's like, I actually would really love to have that type of freedom. And so I'm not trying to say marriage means you don't have freedom or creating a business means you can't have the money and the success. It means that sometimes as humans, we create things or co-create things based on the ego, based on things that come from a foundation of inadequacy rather than something that has been given to us as a destined vision, something that has been planted on our heart as a unique mission that only we could fulfill in the way that we can with the help of the divine. So the difference between 2021 and 2025, and I'll share that vulnerably in this conversation, is that 2021, I started going into the luxury lifestyle. And I love luxury. I love the bougie luxury lifestyle. However, at that time, it was more so from this place of trying to prove myself. Like, look, I can do this. I can create this. Look at my life, spending, I think, like $12,000, maybe more on my birthday trip that year, which I don't have any regrets about. But looking back, would I do that? I don't think so, at least not at this time of my life, because I feel that God is calling me to be able to steward and to be able to use my resources in a way that's more empowering for the collective as well as the underprivileged. And I can say that from the journey that I went into in 2025. So fast forward, if you haven't listened to my podcast episode just a couple of episodes ago, I discussed what it's like to be a powerful woman. And I also shared in that episode about how New Year's Eve going into 2025, I wrote my obituary, which was a practice as part of this spiritual healing ceremony that I attended. And I'm not saying this is what you need to do, this is more so to share that that practice was something I had a lot of resistance around. I thought, what? Like, why would I do that? However, when I sat with it from the perspective of knowing, well, if we all know that our time's going to come sometime, it's guaranteed for every one of us, well, then how would we want to live our lives? How would we want to infuse more life into our existence and the life we are living and take our lives more seriously, not from a place of being so serious, but more so, I'm on a mission and I'm here to fulfill what has been imprinted on my heart, even from before birth. What am I here to do? How will I fulfill it? And how will I receive all the resources and people who will help me fulfill my mission, just as I'm here to help them fulfill theirs? And so, again, it's a beautiful co creative dance. Having written that and then watching the year that unfolded, for me, 2025 was a year of solitude. And now that I'm on the other side, I'm thinking to myself, how could someone do that? A whole year not going out on Saturday nights, Friday nights, spending time with myself, being in nature, spending more time with some of the more uncomfortable emotions that come up, loneliness, feeling alone, even though I know I wasn't alone. I know God had a hand in all of this, but still feeling that sense of, okay, now what? And it felt really uncomfortable. And I can also share that coming out on the other side, I realized that what was different about this void was that I didn't immediately try to get out of it and go into something new. I had several different opportunities where people presented to me and say, hey, do you want to create a venture here? Do you want to add to our project and maybe put a studio here or something? And at first I pitched, I went at it, and I did hear some people's remarks, which I do feel that you have to be careful when you have a new idea. For someone who needs to hear this, sometimes people will project their ideas. It doesn't mean that they can take away the destiny that God has for you, but their energy can shift. And when you feel people's jealousy or their anger or their envy, it can shift something inside of you and potentially delay these things. So just be careful with that. And remember that God is so much more powerful that their energy will never be able to take away what He has planted on your heart to fulfill. So I had several opportunities. I walked into it. I saw this badass come out of me who was pitching and sharing new ideas on the spot. And I thought, okay, something is moving. And what I did differently each time was I took the progress, I took the vision, and the different encounters I had, and I brought it back to prayer, to meditation, to sitting a little bit longer in stillness and asking, is this truly where I'm being called next? Or is this the ego trying to push at something? And in a world where we're so used to doing and proving ourselves and showing, hey, look, I'm involved in this venture, I'm involved in this project, I have my hands with this community, I'm working with this company, I have a partnership here, these are my friends, these are my circles. In a world where we are constantly trying to show hype, in a social media crazed world, in a world that's being run by more technology, where we constantly have been taught to seek validation, to seek external approval, it's hard. It's hard not to just sign up for something and run with it, especially when you feel, hey, this just landed, it's all shiny. Why not? So for me, I had to pull my energy back. And one of the things I did was, God, if you really want for me, I trust it will continue to show up for me. And some of those things fell away and they weren't in alignment, at least at that time. Meanwhile, something was becoming open in me. And I feel called to share this because I think this will resonate with a lot of people. If you've been in a season of tuning into more patience, maybe you were stretched a little bit farther and wider and you couldn't understand why. You have to understand that different things are created according to divine timing. And what I mean by that is, if you are creating a ranch house, nothing wrong with that. You can create the home of your dreams. And if that's a ranch house, go for it. However, if you're creating a ranch house, the foundation that you need for a ranch house is different than you would need for, let's say, a 3-story home or even a skyscraper. A skyscraper is going to take way longer. I mean, with technology, it can happen a little bit quicker these days. It's not like a decade or 2 decades, but it's still going to take a lot more mastery with understanding the structure, the foundation, what needs to be carved from the ground deep into, how deep do you have to go to really anchor in this foundation versus a ranch home. It doesn't mean one is better than the other. It just means they're two beasts of a different caliber. And likewise, whatever your mission is, whatever the purpose has been that's been planted in your heart and your soul specifically, that God has trusted you with, because He trusts you to be able to carry that weight, whatever it is, it's going to take a different caliber. And often it's metaphorical, meaning it's not so much about the foundation outside, it's about the foundation internally. Can you hold the type of success He's going to be giving you? Can you hold the type of life that He wants to birth through you? Do you have the proper inner equipment and architecture and technology to be able to amplify your reach and what He's going to be molding and shifting and providing through you? Because chances are, the bigger the vision, the bigger the mission, the farther the reach, you're going to be called to share those God-given gifts with more people, to spread it far and wide with more communities around the world. And it's because it's in higher service to the planet, to humanity, to all beings, to animals, to plants, and to so much more, to the social causes you care about, to supporting other people's missions, investing in other people's ventures, and using your creativity to do good, whatever that looks like. Perhaps creating a partnership for this new world, a partnership that's so beautiful that it automatically elevates other people to understand what true love is about, especially when it's founded on this beautiful foundation that only God can provide, this foundation of peace rather than chaos, a foundation that's truly made of fertile soil rather than trying to fabricate it. And these are things that, again, I feel that I could have only learned with time and with experiences. So know that whatever encounter, whatever phase of transition you're moving through is perfect for you in your own journey. And I do feel drawn forth to share this today because I'm not regretting what happened in my 20s or some of the things that I created from feeling that I needed to create this, I needed to go into this career. It's all being used now in a different way, which I'm really excited to share. And I can see how powerful it was to step out of my own way, to stop feeling like I need to do all the digging and let God come through and mold some of the things that I didn't even know to look for inside, or to give me and activate some of these dormant skills and talents and gifts I didn't even know could be so useful to what He wants me to create now, to co-create with Him. And doing it with Mother Earth and in service to ascension of Mother Earth, of humanity, and the collective at this time. So how do you actually stay on course when you're moving through something as deep as a void and letting yourself surrender and be held rather than trying to manipulate the timelines, getting in the way, and then all of a sudden using all that chaos to kind of drive forward change, and instead moving into a new realm where you're allowing more peace to come forth and allowing peace to come into the foundation and to create something built on that foundation of peace. It's not easy. It's not easy, especially if you're noticing that in this world, sometimes we've been taught to use the chaos and to take that chaos and create something beautiful from it. And as a disclaimer, you absolutely can create something beautiful from chaos. I've done it. I've seen people do it. Chaos can be transmuted. It can be alchemized, and we can do beautiful things with it. However, for some of us, we're being called to a different higher path. And once you've done that dance so many times, it's like, okay, you already know what chaos feels like. Do you know what peace looks like? What it feels like? What it tastes like? Because it's so much more divine. And when you can feel God's peace, which is so much more eternal and everlasting, what you can create from that is so much more beautiful. It means that I'm willing to venture into the unknown of what it might be like to step into partnership with someone where we're doing the dance and dancing and moving upward and upward and upward together. There's still this deeper level foundation rooting us from commitment and loyalty to one another and to one another's transformation. Rather than previously just thinking that life needed to be chaotic and relationships come together and they come apart, then the next one and come apart. And then the constant, okay, we do the destruction rebirth, but I don't know about you, but I'm tired of doing it with different people and watching things come undone to come apart and then just feeling like, okay, now what? I'm at this point in my journey and in my inner world and discovery process where it's like understanding that there's this possibility that I came from one, from God, as we all did. And before we all departed from understanding that we were one, I understood that even the person that I was made for, the person who was made for me, we came from one. And it wasn't anything I had to fight for. It wasn't anything I had to prove or show this person, this is why you should love me. It had nothing to do with that. It was pure divine love. And if I can keep coming back to that state of purity and divine love within, I don't have to really do much. I can be. And in being in my essence, it's more so calling forth the God given or destined partnership that was destined for me before my birth. And this goes beyond time and space. And it's a concept we don't always understand on the human earthly plane. And it's okay. It's part of our journey. It's what we're here to learn. And also, it's part of understanding that as we expand our horizons and push past the boundaries of what we've been taught as if it's been the ultimate way of being when it's not, we start feeling more of that divinity move through us and we ask bigger, deeper, more meaningful questions. As in, what if there can be a partnership so beautiful that I don't have to be nervous about being so in my power and taking up space and being willing to meet the wholeness and fullness of who I can be, that it might scare someone off and then we're on to the next thing. Okay, that didn't work out. Now next thing. That didn't work out. Then the next thing. What if it can be, okay, I'm evolving and growing here. This might be a little bit much, but it's also helping you to be kind of triggered, but maybe not even triggered, maybe something to look at within deeper and have this safe space of love to understand, okay, I'm actually safe to grow here too, and I'm being called to rise. It means there's space to grow, to live in freedom, and to also know there's a shared container that holds two people together through unity, union, through trust, loyalty, and faithfulness to one another and one another's growth process. So all these things started to come up for me in 2025, and I sat with it. And because of that, I didn't do this thing of just going on random dates just for the sake of saying I have a date on Saturday night. And also pondering, well, okay, these ideas came my way, creative projects and visions, and I feel that we're making progress, we're making forward moves. And yet, when I kept coming back to that sense of stillness, I kept hearing there's something bigger that wants to come through, and you have to give it time for it to be nurtured and for it to take root. I want to share, yes, there is something big coming. I'm not sharing it just yet. And how I knew that it was something from God was that it came to me 2 additional times. And it's actually something that's starting to make its way back into my heart and soul because I'm allowing it to come through. I'm stepping out of my own way. So again, this might resonate for someone else who also feels like, hey, there's been treasure buried deep in your heart because you just kept putting your own dust on it and thought, who would believe that you could do this, or who are you to do this? And when you understand it's not about proving yourself to other people, but actually doing something that's soul led, something that's been planted deep in your heart to pave the way for future generations, to show people there's another way of being, it goes beyond that. It goes beyond any sense of wanting external validation. It's there to help humanity evolve. And that can only come from something deep within the heart and soul. So know that you are seen in this and there's deeper purpose in your life. So having had that revelation and sitting with it several other times last year, I realized that yes, you can do other creative projects and go into other businesses and ventures at that time, and relationships that are not necessarily the one relationship that can take you all the way, so to speak, where you're constantly going through that dance. It doesn't mean that those relationships are wrong or that they're less meaningful or impactful. It just means if you're feeling similar to what I'm expressing, is that you just get to a certain point where it's like you're done doing your dance the way you thought it should be, and you're ready to completely surrender yourself to the higher power because you've gone through the motions of waves of nailing the milestone you wanted, but still feeling like, okay, now what? What's next? And when you start shifting away from that foundation of inadequacy, which is why a lot of us have learned to try to prove ourselves, whether it's showing our careers on LinkedIn, look, I got this promotion, look, I work at this place, or our careers and the new things happening being the center of our conversations, rather than coming to that place of wholeness from within, peace, and feeling that sense of assuredness that often actually doesn't come fully from within. It comes from divinity moving through us, which is part of the journey back to wholeness, which exists within each and every one of us. And is so beautiful to witness and feel and embody. Is that, well, from the sense of wholeness, of course, I would have what God wants for me. Of course, I would be in the partnership that was destined for me. And likewise, of course, you would be in the partnership that's destined for you. Of course, you would be doing the work that you have been uniquely designed to do. Of course, you'd have your hands in multiple ventures that are aligned with you and your soul's calling and mission and purpose to help you grow and evolve in the way that you are designed to evolve. And also simultaneously helping raise the collective and other people who are there to help support your mission, and also that you are there to support and help as well, because we're in this together. So when you have revelations that are to this caliber and this big, these revelations shift something so deeply inside of you, because you start to see that when things are happening behind the scenes, in the space of a void, they're happening for a reason. It doesn't mean that there's nothing happening. It just means you're not seeing them. And that can be uncomfortable. The example I would like to give to anyone who's going through a transition that may have been deeply moving for you, and I'm praying that you are witness to the miracles that are unfolding in your life at this time as well, is that when you order food at a restaurant, you are being patient, because you're not sitting there thinking, well, at what point are they in the kitchen, in the cooking process? Have they cut up all the vegetables? Have they put them on the pan? Where are they? When's the food going to come out? Okay, it's been a little bit longer. You're not checking your time. You're not watching all those things. There's an expectation that your food's coming out at this presumable time, and you'll have it within that period. And so you're in conversation with people, you're enjoying yourself. Maybe you're reading a book, maybe you're talking to the waiter. Something's happening. You're not just waiting and just blindly sitting there and just thinking, where's my food? You're not doing that, right? You have the sense of patience that's been ingrained in you, and you're playing and dancing with that period prior to receiving your meal. In the world of co-creating and grounding and planting our visions onto Earth, onto planet Earth, where each of us is in our own dance, this can be different because oftentimes the timelines can be longer. It might mean a couple of months, it can mean a whole year, it can mean a couple of years. There have been some things that I've been patiently dancing with, for lack of a better term here, for a decade, a decade. And it's something that when I speak about, I'm like, it's been 10 years, 10 years. Most people couldn't even wait 1 year. How could someone wait 10 years? And then I've been reminded that it wasn't a period of waiting. It was a period of growing my own career clinically. As a PA, it's been 10 years of dancing with life, traveling, going in and out of different circles, and noticing what type of communities work for me versus which ones don't. Also noticing that at the start of that decade, when I had these big visions and big desires, I was spending a lot of time with entrepreneurs who were already moving forward in what they were meant to do or what they thought they were here to do. And I was learning from them. I was learning about their discipline, their structure, their way of thinking, their mindset, and how they were able to create things such as healthy business partnership and such. So there was a lot of growth taking place. And also spiritually, I became a yoga teacher. My path had changed after one of my aunts had passed away. And I was literally doing homework for yoga teacher training during night shifts as a PA. So managing patients and then also taking out my binder and doing all the things, practicing different asanas, making class routines. So all that taught me things such as how to have a healthy balance of life, of work, of play, of learning what my true desires are, what's my true path, learning about sacred scriptures, learning about spiritual teachings, and then also learning about the science and how science and spirituality are very much intertwined. And at this point in my journey and evolution, noticing, well, now if I take the labels off of both, then who am I? Out of the scientific lab coat, out of the spiritual teachings and needing my singing bowl and doing all the things, well, who am I outside of the classroom? Who am I outside of the clinic setting? Who am I? And that is a question I feel we have to sit with. It's not something that we can just say, well, okay, these are my skills. This is what I like to do. And this is what I'm going to be now. Or, well, this has been what I created in my list of a partner before. That didn't work. So this is what I'm going to make in my list now. When we're truly surrendering and opening up to, well, what would God want from me? Or what does he want from me? Who am I being called to be as part of my God-given destiny? It's so different because this means that you're not putting your hands in just a moment sooner to fabricate or manipulate the timelines or the mission. It's none of that really. It's more so it can happen, you can try, but chances are you'll catch yourself or the universe will intervene. You'll realize, okay, no, that's not coming from a place of being centered in the heart. It's coming from a place of thinking I need to prove myself or being impatient, feeling like I need to do this thing to get to the next timeline. And one of the things that I would invite you to sit with is noticing all the different masterpieces that have been created on this planet. Yes, seven wonders of the world, but also our beautiful planet, the oceans, the rivers, the lakes, the jungles, nature, you, your beauty, your unique characteristics and features, your culture, your heritage, your traditions, your customs, what you grew up with from your lineage, your different artistic abilities, your creative talents, your unique gifts and services and offerings to the world. No one can do it the way that you can. And that is a gift because that makes you a gift to this world. And when you start seeing yourself and others, your world, your community, Earth, your sense of existence and living from this lens, then you might not be as quick to just rush into something. You might take a moment to lean back and instead of trying to exert yourself into something, it doesn't mean it's not going to require effort in anything. That relationship, that venture, that business, that mission, that purpose, that type of living is still going to require you to do your part and participate in the dance. And so much of it when you learn to embody who you are meant to be, there's a lot less pushing and exertion and pushing the energy out. And there's a lot more calling that energy in and standing in that natural authority and presence. And when you do that, there's so much less to do. And it's more of this natural sense of commanding and inviting, which feels so liberating in a world that has pushed so many of us to burnout. And burnout, a lot of times I'm seeing it's yes, from going at something, overworking the body, doing more than your energy levels were capable of doing at that time. And part of it is also doing this self inquiry and asking yourself, could it be that you kept going at something that you just didn't want to do? That your soul was like, we're tired of this. We're done with this. We learned from this and it's time for something new. And when you get to that place, it's important to let go. When you're able to let go, you're not just letting go of what no longer belongs there or these versions of you that you no longer are. You're also releasing emotions tied to those former identities. You're releasing the weight of what you no longer need to carry. And it could be from former versions, it could be generational, it could be things that you inherited from your family, things that you noticed in society that you thought you need to be, so you adopted it and it never truly felt like you. You can let all that go. And when you can let all that go, what you can see is that actually the version that God wants for you is your authentic self. It's who you naturally are before you thought you need to get all this stuff, before you thought you need to be this person to think you're somebody, before you thought you need to attain this in order to find joy and happiness in your life. And often what you'll find is that even if you build great things in your life from that space of a void, which is beautiful and it has something to teach each and every one of us, chances are the thing can get stripped, that relationship can still fall apart, that person can still turn on you, and then what? Again, you'll feel abandoned, betrayed, sad, upset, angry. And sometimes what you'll notice is that it's it can be because some of the things that have been created were still built on a foundation of inadequacy or pushing at something you weren't meant to do. And when you're creating from a place of peace, God's peace, and setting his foundation as a foundation to create on, and also Mother Earth, respecting the goddess, the divinity of the divine feminine, and allowing those two to co create and merge together, it's different. And it's often because it requires us to come back and return to our wholeness and union and unity within. And as we do that, just imagine what we would be creating. Just imagine the happiness and joy that we would feel first from being in the void and not even having any evidence of why we feel happy, but we just know we feel at peace and feel joyful within without needing that evidence, that physical evidence. And from that place, from having faith and moving that faith into motion, into action, into our living, breathing, walking embodiment, this is something that I've stepped into, and I can share that this is a very exciting time for me because I feel that if I can feel this much peace without having all the evidence of what is to come, how good can it get for me, for the world, for humanity, for the collective? How much more beautiful and peaceful and harmonious can it get? And it couldn't be something I just put out there and project. Even if I did, it might be something that is fleeting. But this is something different because as it's embodied, rooted, and grounded within me and through me onto earth, feeling it every step I take, and noticing that sense of feeling peace without having to have the evidence, the stuff, it feels so much more empowering. And this to me feels to be destiny. It does. This is what destiny feels like. It doesn't feel like I needed to visualize and push it out there. It feels like something is coming through me, something that is being molded and shaped within me and now being birthed and grounded through me. And I want to share this message for anyone who feels like you've just gone through the ringer one too many times. And it's like, okay, if you've been through the ringer, it better be something really amazing and really beautiful on the other side. And just remember that this is possible for you. This is possible for any one of us because it's the power of miracles and miracle consciousness, which is available to each and every one of us. And it doesn't mean that when we create things on this foundation that comes from God, that we won't feel our human emotions or things like that. What it means is that we're not relying on ourselves to hold all of it. We're not saying this happens, so I need to alchemize, I need to transmute. We can give a lot of that over. And some people will say it's bypassing, but I can share from being on this journey for so long and feeling worn out, even in the world of personal growth and development. We're not broken. You're not broken. You're not here to be fixed. We're here to be transformed. And a lot of our transformation and healing path is actually undoing what we never truly were so that we can uncover, unearth, and remember who we have always been at our core. And that is part of the return to our ancient origins, our union with God, our understanding, hey, this is actually me. As I've uncovered this, I'm not becoming anyone new. This is actually me. This is my power. This is my beauty. This is my God given gift. This is me expressing myself uniquely, authentically. Before I felt, who might express like this? This is too big. This is too much. This is going to turn someone off. Someone's going to judge me. Okay, we can have that noise as part of our journey and we play with it, we dance with it. We don't need to deny it. We accept it, we hold it, and we dance with it. The doubts, it's like, okay, I see you. You want to dance a little? And we have boundaries with that dance. I see you. And also, I'm going to dance with this new possibility that says, hey, we can do the thing. we are doing the thing, and we're going to see more of this beautiful thing, this beautiful destiny that wants to come through, our creative potential, and the fact that it's infinite because it comes from something so eternal and beautiful within us. And the more of us who learn that embodiment is just as important, that it's not just tuning into these higher realms, but also grounding it into our body, into our way of being, and then living, breathing, and walking that talk in our everyday life, and recognizing that that beautiful light can move through us, that sense of wholeness can move through us with each word communicated and expressed, each step we take planted onto the ground. We're essentially planting seeds onto the planet. We're planting them as we step, we're shaping them as we speak. And as we dance, we're moving and helping that energy to flow and to spread around us and to more people and to the world. So, with this awareness and now understanding the importance of where you might be at if you are in a void, ask yourself, what is being called of you at this time? Who are you destined to be? And how can you step out of your own way to allow your inner masculine, your inner feminine to flow, to move, to ground the vision that God, the creator, source, universe has planted in you to birth onto this planet into your physical reality at this time, knowing that it is of the highest service to the greater good of humanity, for you, for the planet, for all beings, as well as for generations to come. And what God can move through us and shift us to become and to be and to remember within ourselves is so much more than what we can dream up. And often it's legendary. And this might be a little bit much for some of us. So the invitation is to lean into the discomfort and see where you are being expanded into more of your wilderness, the wilderness of your imagination, of the desires of your heart, the longings of your soul. And then ask yourself what you can do to give the longings of your soul a voice, to let themselves be revealed, to speak, to express themselves to you. And when they do, listen.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Voice That Sees. Please be sure to check out more episodes every other Tuesday on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, or wherever you listen to your podcast. For additional content, you can follow me on Instagram at The Yoga Movement and YouTube at The Yoga Movement NYC. You can also check out my coaching programs and unique offers on my website at theyogamovementnyc.com to help support your individual and personal transformation. Until next time, be you and be well.